How's it going, everybody? This podcast is brought to you by RYYZN Make Life Workout, a health, self-development, and lifestyle platform building a passionate community of knowledge seekers, creative dreamers, and future leaders.
For details on the latest RYYZN event that will feature expert speakers in the field of self-development and growth, check out www.ryz-workout.com.
That's www.ryz-workout.com. Enjoy the show. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the High Frequency Club podcast lockdown edition. My name is Marwan Salaria.
And my name's Shenae Bim, and we might be talking things self-development, growth and mindset, or maybe just lockdown stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, so we're in the first lockdown of 2021, right?
No, we had one in March.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, did we? Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was the first one of 2021. Okay, obviously not.
No,
how long was it?
we did a lockdown episode at mine.
Oh, right.
It was only a week, maybe
Right.
level 3.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So this is our first one with the Delta variant, aye?
Yeah, and first time we've been in level 4 since 2020.
Yeah. How did you find out about the lockdown? I was with a client on Tuesday. It was around 3 o'clock, and our mate Oscar, who was training at the gym at the time, came over and said one case. And
Did you already know when I messaged you then?
No.
Okay.
No. Oscar was the first one that told me one case, and all of a sudden, I knew that the government said a week or 2 weeks prior in the news that if there is even one case of Delta or suspected, we're going straight into lockdown. So I was like, oh wow, here we go.
Yeah, I'd got a message from a friend being like, heads up, there's a case. And so I thought the exact same. I thought, Jacinda's already said earlier that if there was a case, we'd be going into lockdown. So, yeah. So I guess I wasn't as, super shocked when it came. I was kind of like, yep.
So apparently this one's way more infectious, but not as deadly. Is that correct?
I think it's just as deadly.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's just more infectious.
Fuck, there's just so much information. I'm just like...
Yeah.
Just stay home. In ways.
Yeah.
Stay home as in I still want to go out for a walk because it's good for my fucking mental health.
Yeah.
In order for me to get get me some fresh air, get some movement in. But before we get into that, how are you treating this lockdown in comparison to the the ones previously?
I think the fact that we've had so many now, I know not to put pressure on myself in regards to productivity and to try and not compared to what others are doing. I think previous lockdowns I've been like, oh, people are doing this, I should do that, and oh, they're baking, I should be baking more, or they're running PBs, I should be focusing on my running more, or whatever. So I think this lockdown, just doing whatever I feel like doing and knowing that that's going to be different for everyone. For some people, forcing themselves to have a few sleep-ins is probably a big thing. For other people, it might be trying to get up early and still make use of your day. Or for some people, a productive day is ticking off 3 things. Other people, it might be ticking off 10 things. So
yeah,
we should have checked that at the start. So just not putting too much pressure on myself and just still writing a very small to-do list each day of and very basic things like get up, do some study, read, go for a walk. And then as long as I've done a few things in the morning, then in the afternoon I'm like, cool, do whatever you want. If you want to keep studying or keep reading in the afternoon, cool. Or if you want to watch a movie.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know what number lockdown this is, whether it's 4 or 5, but got the benefit of the doubt of benefit of what is coming up. I know what's coming up, we stay home. I know I've had routines before, but things that are different for me have been more chill time. I've held on to waking up with no alarm because what would I need an alarm for? And just actually taking, actually having a working window. All the other ones I was like, oh shit, I've got so much time to create content or so much time to get ahead of things. And that's what I measured success as in the previous lockdowns and catching up on sleep. But this time, there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm the same and not putting too much pressure on myself because that's not what I really want to do. I know that I want to chill. I want to watch movies that I've been putting off, know? So my current arbitrary, I guess, rules of this lockdown is work 10 to 3 and then start to wind down. Another one is try have vegetables in every one of my meals because I'm having to cook.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's it really.
Yeah.
That's it, and just take it day by day, and and get some movement in. Get some movement in. So what is this? Day 6? No, day 5. 4. This is day 4. So just try to get a range of like high intensity, moderate intensity, and low intensity, but always just trying to move every single day. Thankfully, I've got the spin bike that my flatmate has, which is fucking sick because I can just hook sprint up, take care of the high intensity stuff. But this is not a time for me to be trying to lose weight or to get stronger. You know, if anything, is my metric of success is just to feel good about myself, keep on top of just feeling good.
Yeah. I think it's like worthwhile touching on though that we are in a relatively privileged position, the fact that this is only our second lockdown for the year, and so it's only going to be at this stage a week, likely maybe 2 weeks, compared to other people, like example in Sydney where they're going, I know their lockdown rules are different, but they are going into their like 8th, 9th, 10th week. And that's what I always find with lockdowns. It's easy, I think, when it's just for a week, because you're kind of like, okay, cool, I can do a bit of this, do a bit of that, go for a walk every day. But I think 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th week, that's when it gets hard. I think you kind of get sick of that little routine that you've had every day.
Yeah. Well, we've got some mates at the moment who, we've been messaging, and they're doing this lockdown by themselves, and they're currently, one bro messaged me saying, hey bro, I'm starting to feel really uneasy. And fuck, I can only imagine what that feels like. I'm thankful, I have you here. I've got flatmates who are also my friends that are downstairs. We pretty much have dinners all at the same time and whatnot. And our routine's somewhat the same with me and my flatmates. What would your advice be for people who are, starting to feel uneasy? Because you did the first lockdown, which was 6 to 7 weeks, all by yourself.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to people, if they are by themselves, or even if they're just starting to feel uneasy with it? How did you cope?
It's definitely, constantly kind of, I was lucky during that first one, I had a lot of friends that were always doing like quiz nights and all those kind of things, the catch-ups online and stuff. But yeah, same thing in that, like not putting pressure on yourself, because I think it's easy if you are alone, like you're just on your phone constantly and you're seeing what other people are doing and thinking, oh, everyone's doing more than me or whatnot. So yeah, trying to not compare, and because I know that's my sister in Melbourne, she's obviously been in lockdown for most of the year, and I think sometimes there was that pressure of like, oh, I should be doing this more, I should be doing that more, and I'm kind of like, accept it for what it is. It's like you're thrown out of your routine, and then once they come out of lockdown, it only ends up being for a week or 2 that she somewhat gets back into her work routine and going to the gym, and then they're straight back into another lockdown. So she feels like she's never kind of getting sorted in a sort of schedule. So I think it's just kind of accepting it for what it is.
I think I sound like a broken record every time I say this, but what really helps me is, really understanding what I want or what I deem success as is in any stage, and in this stage it's lockdown. Like if it's just eating vegetables with every single meal, getting 8 hours sleep and maybe doing one productive thing a day, that to me is success. But if you don't have that clarity on what that looks like for you, it's easy to compare how you're coping
to someone else. Doesn't mean if you're struggling to just go for a walk a day, and then you look at someone else who's like, oh, this lockdown I've lost like 6 kilos, you'd be like, fuck, like I can barely get off my ass to go for a walk. Like you would feel pretty shit about yourself knowing that someone else has been like, oh boom, I've just done this or I've done that. So that's where I think, like I said, if you've got to have those clear for me, my success is just getting up and going for a walk every day. So as long as I do that, I don't care if someone else has just run their 10k PB or whatever. Yeah,
I was having a great conversation with a client via email, and he was like, and we were both saying that this is a great time to really set up to really practice psychological flexibility. And that means being still somewhat, I guess, rigid towards your goals, but being flexible towards your method, especially at a time like this. This is not the time to be trying to stay on track with a 100 kg deadlift. That's not that time. But the goal is to get stronger, right? So how could you get stronger based on what you've got?
Yeah,
and it might
whether it be your push-ups or
just getting sleep.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not about getting physically stronger today. Maybe it's about getting mentally stronger. Yeah. So for him, he was like, so I'm going to start, I've set some temporary goals for myself. Arbitrary goals like doing my washing makes me feel strong because I'm still upkeeping my routine.
Yeah.
You know, doing cooking my meals, cooking still the meals that I've always been eating.
Yeah.
Starting to read a little bit more. You know, so he's practicing mental resilience, mental strength.
Yeah.
You can find a way. Anyone can find a way.
Yeah. I definitely think as well with like with trying to have a routine and making a to-do list is almost somewhat setting the bar low in that you know you're going to get them done. Like sometimes my to-do list is like wake up, have breakfast, have a shower. So it's like, you know, and then it's that the momentum of ticking them off that I'm like, okay, cool, now what's next? Even though the next one might be like, you know, do a online module and it's obviously a bit more effort. But once I sort of have that momentum of already ticking off a few things, I'm kind of like, yep, I want to get through this list today. So I always think have a couple of things on your to-do list that are, you know, you're going to do anyway.
Yeah.
Because that'll just make you feel good because you're like, sweet, I've ticked off 3 of my 6 things I wanted to get done today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think it's also like a great opportunity to do something that you're really curious in or find out more things that you're interested in, whether it's like, I don't know, figuring out how to take care of a plant or like for me, I've started to read a lot about space. I don't understand fucking physics at all, but I love the movie Interstellar and just seeing diagrams and reading information about space I find interesting, you know, so that's what I've been doing. It's a great time because you've got the space and time to do that.
Yeah.
I think, where I've felt lost is when I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily do as in got to always be productive. Like watching a movie is doing something.
Yeah.
You know, lying in bed is doing something.
Yeah. I think that's where I struggle because I'm not a big one for TV. Like even like when I'm at home normally during the week, I don't, aside from when the Olympics are on, I don't usually turn my TV on at all. So
yeah,
I'm someone that, I don't mind watching the odd movie, but it has to be, a good movie. Otherwise I'm like, oh, I'm bored. Or I'm thinking of other things that I could be doing or...
Yeah. I think this would be great for you to touch on because you articulate your words so well. So with the lockdown that we've been in, I've started to put a lot more time on my legs. Running and doing sprint, and I don't normally do that because sometimes I can do weights as well, or I have rest days in between. But I told myself I really just want to keep moving.
Yeah.
And my foot's starting to get sore.
Yeah.
Because I've already gone for 2 runs this week where I wouldn't normally go for a run at all.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of stress overload.
Yeah.
Because my foot's just, I went from 0 kms to now I probably ran like 5 in the space of 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm not used to, and I did my 3 sprints of the week.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people are either going down that path or they're already starting to feel overload pain. Can you explain to people what that is and how they could, progress that?
Well, yeah, like you said, it's just doing too much too soon. If you're doing an activity that your body's not yet accustomed to, or just too much of it. Even something like walking. If you're not someone that regularly walks, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to walk from here to the city or something, and you're doing like a 10k walk in a day, then you're going to probably get aches and niggles from that as well. So it's definitely just starting off small and then gradually building on that. So maybe it might just be walking the block initially, like, a couple of Ks, and then from that building that up. Same with running. It might just be short, runs up and down your driveway or something, and then build that to jogging your block, 1k, 2k, build up to 5k.
Yeah, but a lot of people, they'll run the block, including me, and I'll be like, I feel like I got more though.
Yeah, but it's the latent effect of that. You won't feel it now, but you'll feel it the following day. I had this exact same thing a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to get back into my running, and I thought I'm just going to do 2Ks, just the block. And when I started running, I felt so good. Like I was like, fuck, I feel so good. And I was like, I don't really want to run just the block. Like this is pathetic. I should do my normal 5k loop. And I was like, nope, you said to yourself you're only doing 2Ks. Got home, still felt good. I was like, fuck, I should have done it. Following day, I woke up and my calves were so sore, I struggled to walk. And I thought that was only after 2Ks. So I thought, imagine how sore my calves would have been if I did 5Ks. So that's where you've got to sort of look at the 24-hour pain signals that you might be getting. You might not feel it straight away, but you've got to sort of check in with yourself later that night and then the following day.
I'm glad that you mentioned the word pain because this is a part of the RYYZ talk which I want to transition to. But yeah, so how do you understand pain? Does pain mean I should start? Like, let's use me for an example. So I can feel that when I'm getting some flexion in my toe, actually dorsiflexion.
Plantar flexion?
Going upwards. I always get these mixed up.
Dorsiflexion is up.
So dorsi.
Pointing is down, but if you're you're pushing off, that's
I'm pushing off.
So that's plantar flexion.
Oh, okay, cool, sweet. Cool, just expose me like that. Anyway, when I'm
Are you a PT or?
when I'm getting plantar flexion, so does that mean, how do I understand that pain? Does that mean I should stop? Does that mean, when do I know I should push through?
Well, basically, it kind of depends on how long you've had the pain for and how, like if it's tolerable during the activity you're doing, I would say, yep, it's fine to push through. And if you're not sort of putting yourself at risk by whatever you're doing. So if you're jogging and you're feeling a bit of pain in your foot, if it sort of stayed the same as you kept jogging and didn't really get any worse, and then again checking with yourself later that night, if later that night you're like, fuck, my foot is throbbing, it's like 10 out of 10, then yeah, the next day I wouldn't run. But if it was just a bit, you could feel it there, if it was like a 2 or a 3 out of 10 while you're jogging and it stayed the same, then I would keep going. But if as you were running, if it went from like a 3 out of 10 to like, shit, this is a 6 out of 10 now, like, shit, this is an 8 out of 10, like it's getting worse, then I would stop.
Right. Yeah.
Or if there's possibly any other signs of something more serious.
No, it feels all good. But I was just saying that in terms of, I'm sure there are people out there that have just started running after not running since last lockdown.
But that's it, it's like, think about it, it's like, if you've never run, and because to me it's common sense, like I'd get so many patients that would do that. They would come in and be like, oh, I've got like a sore knee, it's been sore for the last 3 weeks, and I've got into running, and I'd be like, oh, how much running are you doing? Oh, I'm trying to run like 10Ks every day. And how much were you doing prior? Oh, I never used to run. Like, to me, it's like, why do you think your knee's sore? You've gone from not loading it at all. I think that's probably it, is people probably don't understand the force of the loads when we are doing something, like the difference of load in our joints from just walking versus jumping versus running versus skipping, whatever. So
it's much more high stress.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's why people just think, oh, but running's just like a natural activity. And they probably think, squatting heavy at the gym would be more dangerous for their knees, when I'm not saying that running is dangerous for your knees, but it's just a load that your body definitely has to adapt to. And if you've not run at all for a long period of time, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm trying to run 10Ks every day.
They've got different impacts too.
Yeah, that's going to be. And again, it doesn't mean that running's, so often that happens and people think, oh, running's bad because it makes my knees sore. But it's like, no, your knees have just not yet adapted to that load you're putting them under.
Yeah, which is this talk on understanding pain is such a great segue into our next subject, which was the RYYZ event, which we did on August the 13th. So I got moved from July 30th to 2 weeks later because I got another project that I couldn't move. So the RYYZ event was movable, and thankfully out of like the 15 to 20 people that already bought tickets, only 2 just needed refunds because they couldn't make the new date, but everyone else was all good to go. I thought that was an extremely successful event. We were only 4 seats away from fully selling out. I enjoyed. If things that I'm grateful for were, almost selling out, was actually getting it done, because it was a long time coming in terms of, this podcast is a brand build towards that, and the RYYZ event is an offering. 3 is, what I'm really grateful for was being able to present my friends with opportunities to learn as audience members, and my other friends who were speakers to present what they found what they were passionate about, and to give back their gifts of knowledge or whatever. Being able to sit there and watch you guys speak about things that you enjoyed, I was like, fuck, this is cool. I'm really grateful for that. And another thing that I was really grateful for, out of all the things, and I said this in my Instagram account, was at the end, seeing my boys pack up the seats while I was ushering people out the door because the gym was closed and we held it at the gym. I was like, where the fuck are the boys? How come they're not leaving yet? And then I actually saw them carrying the chairs out and shit. And I was like, fuck, that's cool. So I'm super, super grateful for that. Environment is such a huge factor in your success or your fall down. Your friend group, your support group can either make you feel like you can do anything in the world or make you feel like shit for even trying. And I'm so grateful that I have a friend group and I'm in an environment where people uplift me, and I'm the type of person that those types of people want to be around. How was it for you? You're the operations manager of it, and also, you know, a lot of people may not know that you took a lot of the work on the details.
Yeah, I think it ran pretty smoothly. Like there was nothing that we were like, shit, we haven't planned or prepped for this or something, or nothing that sort of. I kept thinking the day of, I was like, surely there's gonna be something we've forgotten about that we'll be like, fuck, we haven't organised this, or we haven't paid for this, or whatever. But yeah, I think in general it ran pretty smoothly, and that's what feedback I got from others as well. They said it felt very, polished.
How was it from a speaker's sense?
From a speaker's point of view,
This was your first time ever doing it, right?
Other than like uni speeches and stuff like that, So like a first proper speech in a long time. I think definitely something I noted that for next time I would like to, you know how we were there earlier setting up and things like that, that's when I thought I would definitely should have practiced it then, even if it was just in front of you type thing. Because I think practicing it at home and just to you, but obviously not in that environment, is very different to then, boom, heaps of people there. And I definitely felt I think I was fine up until that point because I had been like helping with the food and everything else. So I was like, blah, blah, blah. And then when it was my turn, I was like, whew. And then as my first slide came up, I literally was just like, fuck, I've mind blanked, and just was like, there was nothing there. And I was like, breathe. Like I was talking as at the same time having thoughts of like, breathe, calm down. You know this, you've practiced it multiple times, you know, find your train of thought while still just talking shit. And yet people were like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, I had no idea. I thought you did really well. But I know what you mean, just from like performance and an acting perspective. We always do tech rehearsals, which means you do all your rehearsals like outside in a rehearsal room, not in the space. And then you run it like 2 or 3 times, if you're lucky, 2 or 3 times, otherwise just 1 time, in the space as if you're doing it to a normal show. And that gets you in the space.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're right. You go into the space and all of a sudden there's a crowd there.
Yeah.
You're not used to how far you should project your voice.
Yeah.
You're not used to, you know, there's just so many new variables that you got to get used to when it's actually time to perform. That's what tech and just rehearsals are for. And that's one thing that I would change as well, including for me as a host. I completely mind blanked, especially in the first half. I mind blanked the first half. I was like running through my words. I was stuttering, and I was like, I remember thinking while I was doing the entrance, I was like, oh shit, I am not fully prepared. I had it all in my head beforehand, and I went through some stuff, but I was like, I'll be sweet. Boom, as soon as the eyes are on me, that's where the pressure comes on. I think I did all good, but I didn't do to the where I wanted, I imagined myself to be.
That's what I think I think everyone has said like, oh, it was really good and really...
but they didn't know any better.
Again, that's me. I'm like, you don't know what my original, like, my level was here. And it's like, oh, it's probably there. Whereas, and like you said, I didn't notice yours either. And that's because I didn't know what you were meant to be saying word for word, what you had scripted or like what you'd planned to say. So that's why, same for you, I'm like, it seemed all good. Like you seemed all over it. But like you said, deep down, you were thinking like, fuck.
I didn't even get my full intro speech out. I was supposed to, if you were there, you know that you ended up writing your goals after the first speaker spoke, Sean. I was supposed to say that beforehand. You're supposed to write your goal down before it even fucking starts, not when it started.
I think it's funny because we obviously when we're getting set up, we did like check the mics and that kind of thing. But like I said, that's something I wrote down for sort of next time would be when we're testing the mics, is because we were all there, all of us speakers, we could have just all sat down, you did your bit while we would wait, and then we could have all just practiced, at least saying your maybe first 1 to 2 minutes, just to practice. You learn from it. There's always learnings. But I think we're probably, I find I think I'm like that with anything, somewhat like neglect the positives. I'm like, anyway, but where can I learn from it? Where can I improve? X, Y, Z. And so many of my friends kept being like, dude, like that was your first event. It was epic. And I'm like, but.
Certainly. It's a fine balance. Like you gotta be grateful for a lot of things. A client said this the other day because she's a perfectionist in herself. She said, out of the 10 things, there's 10 things, 9 of them went really well. 1 went wrong, and she couldn't help but always focus on the one thing that went wrong. She goes, always remember, there were 9 things that also went right. And that's what she reminds her. And I was like, that's true. And it was difficult for me as host and organizer of it to to differentiate what role I was in at times. Like, for example, I was in the crowd watching, meant to be watching, you know, the speakers, but also I was like already strategizing the next talk. Like this is a hole here. This could be done better here. This could be done. And then by the time the speaker was done and I meant to, in a way, summarize it as a host, I'm like, fuck, I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
Because I was already strategizing and thinking about what can be done better next time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, I couldn't foresee that until it happened.
It's hard to be like 100% present in those situations. Like I've said to people, it's similar to when you are hosting a party. You're never just kicking back enjoying your own party. You're literally thinking like, has everyone got enough food? Has everyone got like drinks? Oh, is everyone warm enough or cool enough? Should I do this? What about the music?
It's stressful.
You're just constantly thinking, and then you're like, oh, I haven't spoken to those people. I better go say hi to those guys. And like, oh shit, those guys are leaving. I better go say goodbye to them. And the whole time you just go. And then at the end of the night, you're like, oh, it's done. It's all finished, but you can't even remember it because it's just like a blur. Yeah. It definitely felt like that. Once it was over, it was like, whoa.
Yeah. What would you change next time? Would you change anything in your talk? Oh, and first of all, actually, thank you so much to everyone who did come. You all should have received the feedback form about 2 days later. If you could please fill that out and send it back to us, because that's the data that will collate to help make the next one better and better and better. So what would you change? Or what would you keep? Start, continue.
In regards to my personal speech, I would happily do that again. Like I said, for me, it would just be like practicing it then on the spot beforehand, and as well maybe practicing. Obviously, I practiced it in front of you, but practicing it as well in a couple of others, and getting their opinion as to what they think the big takeouts are, or the hard to digest parts that I should maybe pause on for a little bit longer, because I had that feedback from some people. Was like, oh, there was so much content, but like I started writing something down and then boom, you skip to the next slide. So maybe knowing where if there's something that it's like boom, you should hold on that for a moment and sort of let people take it in type thing. And then in regards to the whole event itself, I think it all in general ran pretty smoothly. I don't know if there's anything I would.
For me there was just a hidden cost that we didn't know about until like after, of course the people who were delivering the chairs that people sat on, they couldn't pick it up at 8:30 p.m. on a Friday. They closed then. So then I had to hire a van to, and there was just much more admin. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the...
Even when we were doing rough quotes of stuff, we were estimating everything based on just the cost I'd have on the website, which like wasn't then including GST and stuff like that. So I think we were budgeting a lot of the time, and then once we actually got a physical quote, it was like, oh fuck, plus GST, plus delivery, plus this, plus that. You were like, oh shit, that's a lot more than what we'd originally estimated for.
And even like I just had a mind blank. I was just thinking, what was it? Oh yeah, like everyone in the feedback form so far everyone has said either agree or highly agree that the event was great value for money. And to be honest, I think it was too cheap. It was too cheap. But still, if anything, I want to continue to give even more value and then increase the price.
I think now going forward, we're better equipped. We're better equipped now knowing the costs.
We even fucked up the first 20 tickets because Eventbrite and GST were absorbed in the 30 rather than... So it's the first 20 tickets we made even less money on them.
I think back then when we did make that cost, we were just like, oh, how much for a ticket? Oh, $30? Yeah, that's what we based it on. Whereas now we would be able to be like, these are going to be our costs. This is going to be the expense of it, so therefore...
that's the thing, you're right, because in my head I was like, oh, how much would I pay for it?
We literally were like, oh, how much would we pay to go see a couple of, few speakers speak? We're like, oh yeah, $30. Whereas now knowing the costs of putting on an event, plus food, all of that kind of thing, I think we would now have a better estimate of okay, well, if we have an event and we have roughly 50 people come... this much for food, this much for this is how much per head it's going to work out to, therefore we need to charge this much for a ticket. To cover our costs. Yeah.
But for me, even, and I remember strategizing this like early in the year with you, it was never the money that was the most important thing for me. It was getting it done and getting the name, the brand Rise out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a brand building event for me.
I think you just always want to at least make ends meet, at least always break even.
Oh yeah, but you can always make them in, like it doesn't stop with that one.
Yeah.
That's like the same with like the seminars like Success Stories Australia and shit like that, and TEDx or whatever. When they hire like Tony Robbins, shit, those people are like almost $1 million or whatever. You don't make $1 million in that event, so you have like one high profile person, but for one event, every annually, and then you have like, let's say 6 events that pay for that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an annual plan rather than a one event plan.
Yeah.
Because you can't make $1 million per, I don't think so anyway.
Yeah.
Per event. So they have like little smaller ones around that with speakers that don't cost as much, it still pay for that big one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
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 Cool beans. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up there, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. I don't think I've got anything else to add other than follow us at the High Frequency Club if you're not already, and let us know what you're getting up to in your lockdown. If you're just sleeping in, watching stuff.
Yeah, what are your takeouts actually? What are your takeouts?
Oh, my takeouts from today.
Takeouts. My takeouts from today, if I could give any advice, including me talking to myself, is really figure out what success looks like for you.
Isn't that always yours?
It is always mine, but it just fits in different contexts, and sometimes when you hear it for the 5th time, it actually lands.
Yeah.
So really get it out of your head. What does it look like? And it should be so strong enough that regardless of what information or what content you're consuming, your metric of success doesn't waver.
Well, mine would probably be don't consume too much content.
Well, if that's your metric of success and it makes you feel good about yourself, then what's the problem?
But does constantly consuming content make you feel good about yourself? That's what I think.
Some might. I've consumed a lot of content in self-development and made me feel good about myself. But
yeah, but I think I'm thinking more the mindless scrolling. Like if you're spending most hours scrolling, that's probably not going to be making you feel good.
Oh yeah, highly unlikely. But who knows, right?
But that's what I mean. Like that's just checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
And just checking in with how you're feeling and if what you're doing is helping you to feel better or feel more shit.
Yeah.
And even if you are mindlessly scrolling, is not to be. Or if you feel yourself comparing, and after scrolling for half an hour to an hour, and you're like, oh, I feel shit about myself, then you might want to change something.
Yeah, well, a great practical North Star that I've given myself and my clients is asking yourself, what can I do today that will positively impact my mental and physical well-being? And revolve, I guess, your decisions around that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Awesome.
Cool.
Where can they find us?
At the High Frequency Club, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Apple.
Hope you are all staying safe. Thanks for listening, team. If you need anything, give us a hit up in the DMs.
Yeah, DM, comment, let us know what you're up to.
Yeah, we're absolutely loving having a conversation with y'alls. Peace.